Following along from my last video where I started to talk about migration, I thought, well, let's get right into it. Let's talk about, let's just say supply chain in general, supply chain professionals who are looking to migrate out of the Caribbean and work elsewhere. I have been working, it seems like forever. So my career spans 23 years and counting, of which almost 18 of those have been spent in procurement. I worked in the public sector for quite some time, and I left the public sector, and my clients are the public sector. So I'd say that I have a good idea of what I'm talking about. And let's start with your education. Not once in my entire career have I been asked if I have a degree. So there you go. I've often said I would die on the hill that you do not need a degree to work in procurement, and I still maintain that. Am I saying don't get a degree? No, I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just saying that in order to work in supply chain in Canada, you don't need it. It has not hindered me. Neither has it actually propelled me forward. A lot of what I have learned that has been extremely helpful to me has been on-the-job training, as well as upskilling. My focus on very specific industry knowledge and education at a tertiary level has helped me. So, for example, my professional designations, I would say, are more useful to me than a degree, and my real life tangible work experience. What I would say to you if you're looking to work in supply chain in Canada is you have to have a good grasp of business. We'll talk about maybe in another video what it is to have a global perspective, but you need to understand how Canada works. It can be very fast-paced, but there's a lot of governance in Canada when it comes to supply chain. Well, obviously, particularly at the public sector level. So I would tell anybody looking to work in supply chain in Canada is get a good foundation in business. Let that be the basis for your education and then build upon it. I would not say go get a degree in procurement and then do your master's and then do a bunch of designations. No. Because you need to prepare for the things that you just have to be prepared for the unexpected. What if you go down one path and then all of a sudden, an opportunity to the left happens, or like an opportunity to the right happens, and you take advantage of any one of those opportunities, and you've specialized, you've niched, you're fully niched, and you're boxed in. So I would recommend get a good basis, good knowledge, good foundation in business, different structures, different types of governance, like particularly those who have not only like an elected component like government, but boards. Those who have different businesses who have shareholders, standing committees, things like that. When you understand that, you will understand how Canadian businesses work, because there is a heavily strategic component to what we do at this point, and especially in procurement. We are moving away very rapidly from the transactional, tactical, focused way of doing things, and we have category management. We have long-term strategic vision happening here. We have very ambitious roadmaps. We are pursuing digital transformation and modernization. So I would say that if you are focusing simply on how to work in procurement, you're not going to understand how to serve your clients. And one of the best ways to do that is to understand how businesses work. Now, businesses are structured in different ways where they may have different units, but if you look at businesses, they generally have the same sort of areas. You've got your HR, your finance, your legal, your procurement, you have ops. So the other thing you have to understand is how all of those areas tie together. So people may do different things, but I always say we're here for the same end result. And that could be, that is whatever your output is, your core service, your core offerings, and particularly when you're serving members of the public. So again, take a look at your education, and what I would say is if you already have one degree and it's somewhat relevant to the business world, take a step back. Redirect your money. There's different ways to train and upskill and educate yourself, and particularly in a country like Canada. If you really want to do something, what I would recommend that you look into is a professional designation. Look into the National Institute of Supply Chain Leaders if you're going to be living in British Columbia or Ontario. That will cover you nicely for the public and the private sector. But if you're not quite sure where you're going to end up migrating in Canada, I would recommend that you look at SIPs. And a lot of you are already SIPs designation holders, and that is going to be a fantastic thing for you to have. One thing that is happening right now is the National Institute for Supply Chain Leaders. I belong to this organization. I'm pursuing my professional designations with them. They've just signed an MOU with SIPs, and there's discussions on reciprocity. So SIPs is really starting to get pushed in Canada. Will it be a requirement for you to get a job? No. So again, let's use some common sense here. But it's not going to harm you either. So as we get down the line and the market is more and more saturated, these are the things that are going to help you stand apart from others. But at the end of the day, I don't foresee, at least not in the very near future, supply chain in Canada requiring you to have a degree or even a designation. But I do think that they will they'll take a closer look at you if you do have a designation, such as the CSCL from the National Institute of Supply Chain Leaders, or the M6. So I hope that helps from an education perspective, and we'll continue this discussion well after I get off the plane. See you in Toronto.